if he's drafted in the second round. It's the fact that he fell to 5th that's alarming. So in other words, you're willing to collectively send that kind of message, and don't act like it wasn't a collective effort. For all we know, teams collectively, meaning owners, had come to the conclusion nobody's going to touch him in the first 4 rounds. All right, now that the round 5 is here, our message has been sent, so y'all could go about the business of sort of lifting the embargo, for lack of a better phraseology. But all I know is this: it's freaking unfair. It ain't right.
Peace, family. This is King Messiah. Make sure you hit that subscribe button. We're building this platform. Today, we're talking about Shedeur Sanders. For everyone who don't know, there was a lot of controversy with the 2025 NFL Draft. Shedeur Sanders was supposed to go round 1 or round 2, but he ended up going round 5. He was drafted to the Cleveland Browns. Let's hear what the general manager and the head coach had to say about drafting him, his value, and their reasoning for waiting so long. Let's get into the video.
So day 3, obviously made 2 selections today. Starting with Dylan, someone we knew well from University of Tennessee. 20-year-old running back. Think he really complements our room nicely. Runs a really tough and physical style despite being a little bit undersized. He's a player who has A+ makeup and a player that we think has untapped potential in the passing game. And then, Shedeur, we talk oftentimes about quarterback being the most important position in the sport. We obviously spent a lot of time with Shedeur throughout the process. He's highly accurate, can play well from the pocket, very productive college career. And, we felt like it wasn't necessarily the plan going into the weekend to select 2 quarterbacks, but as we talk about, we do believe in best player available. We do believe in positional value, and we didn't necessarily expect him to be available in the 5th round. And so we love adding competition to every position room, and adding him to compete with the guys that are already in there. We felt like that was the appropriate thing to do. So with that, I'll open it up for questions.
Andrew, this is first for you. Can you seems like sort of a blockbuster move for you guys to make at this point. And then also, when we saw your guys' reaction in the war room, it just didn't look necessarily exuberant. So I don't know what we were seeing, but maybe you can explain that. And then also, how did this happen?
Yeah. I think we're probably just tired from the weekend.
Well, when they show those clips, it's not timed up to exactly the right
when
time.
We're actually
so I wouldn't. Don't read too much into that.
Can you just explain? This is a pretty big deal after everything that happened with Shedeur, this epic free fall that he had. How did this happen, and what was the thinking behind it?
Yeah, I just say the biggest thing for us, we live by our board. We felt like he was a good, solid prospect at the most important position. We felt like it got to a point where he was probably mispriced, relative to the draft. Really the acquisition cost was pretty light, and it's a guy that we think can outproduce his draft slot. So more than that, Mary Kay, I think obviously Shedeur has kind of grown up in the spotlight. But our expectation is for him to come in here and work and compete. Nothing's been promised. Nothing will be given. So I may hesitate to characterize it as a blockbuster. That's not necessarily how we thought of the transaction. But we are excited to work with him.
Okay, so let's slow it down. Basically, what he's saying is they allowed Shedeur Sanders, his stock, to drop so low to where they got him for pennies on the dollar. They're saying they predict that he's going to outproduce his draft stock.
We felt like it got to a point where he was probably mispriced, relative to the draft. Really the acquisition cost was pretty light, and it's a guy that we think can outproduce his draft slot. So I wouldn't say.
Okay, they basically got a mansion for a bando's price. Okay, I'm just trying to simplify this thing. And when we read, whenever you drop from round 1 or round 2, there's guarantees. There's certain guarantees that the NFL has to pay you. There's certain sign-on bonuses. I mean, they're trying to buck break Shedeur. So they allowed him to drop all the way to round 5, which they can sign him without certain guarantees. They can sign him without certain sign-on bonuses, and they can get him for pennies on the dollar. If they were supposed to give him a $30 million deal, they can just get away with $3 million. So this is all politics. Now listen, Stephen A. Smith, I know we hate to agree with him, but he said he feels like this is collusion.
You heard what he had to say. Let me tell you something right now. This is some bullshit. But if you're the National Football League, okay, clearly it's not about talent anymore. It's about something else. And I'm going to tell you, I spent a large amount of the last 24 hours thinking about nothing more than I was thinking about collusion. Because how in the hell does 32 teams in the National Football League pass on a quarterback that was universally recognized one of the top 3 quarterbacks in the country entering this draft, and 32 teams passed on him? Not once, not twice, not 3 times, but 4 different times they passed on him. How the hell does that happen? 4 rounds. It doesn't happen to a quarterback. We've never seen anything like this before. We've seen guys drop because of injuries. We've seen guys drop because of off-field issues, but we've never seen a quarterback projected to be a top 20 pick, universally recognized one of the top 3 quarterbacks in the draft, projected to be a first rounder, in all likelihood a safe bet of a late first rounder, and drop literally to the 5th round. We haven't seen anything like that. And when you're talking about the owners, I'm going to keep in mind, and I tweeted about this, seems very Kaepernick-like, as in Colin Kaepernick.
All of the NFL owners got together and they said, we have to teach Deion Sanders, the Sanders family, a lesson. We have to not draft him in round 1, round 2. We'll draft him in round 6, round 5, because we have to show them that we're the bosses, and no matter how famous, no matter how much the people like you, we are in control, and we're going to ultimately buck break you.
Isn't the circus going to come along with this pick? Even if it's not intentional. It seems everything follows him.
Our guys understand, Jeff. When you're in the building, we're here to work. We don't pay much attention to what's on the outside. We know we've spent a lot of time with Shedeur. We know what he's about. He's coming in here to work, just like all of our other players.
For both of you, Kevin, AB, either one of you, what are the biggest maybe misconceptions about Shedeur's game in terms of the way he plays the quarterback position, traits, that sort of thing?
No, I can't, Chris. I can't really speak on what other people think. I can describe how we view him. We view him as a highly accurate pocket passer. He does a really good job of protecting the ball. He has enough of the physical characteristics, whether it's arm strength or mobility. Like all young players, there are things to improve. I think probably much has been said about the number of sacks he's taken. Some of that is environment, and some of that is his improvement on his end, for sure. But he has probably a little bit more of a, call it retro or classic style of play. Again, I can't speak to how others view him.
But isn't the circus going to come along with this pick?
I want you to notice how the first reporter had to slip an insult in there. Like, what do you think about the circus that comes with drafting Shedeur? It's just disgusting behavior. Now, I want to go to this tweet, okay, that Deion Sanders, who's the father of Shedeur Sanders, he made in 2018. He said, "I love what the Browns have done this offseason, but if I'm a young quarterback, ain't no way I'm going to Cleveland. I would pull a Eli Manning if possible," meaning just do everything in his power to kind of switch to a different team. Once you get in the NFL, you kind of try to move lateral to different teams. But I think it's not a coincidence that the one team that picks up his son is the one team he tweeted about. They're trying to make a point that they are in control, that they call the shots, and no matter how powerful or influential you may be, we are the bosses. We run the show. What do you all think about this? I think it's racism. I think it is collusion. I think, when you look at the stats of Shedeur Sanders, I mean, he was number one in so many different categories when he played for Colorado. It is no doubt that he should have been drafted in the first round. And if not the first round, most definitely the second round. When you got the president of the United States putting out a statement, it just shows you the level of disrespect and despicable behavior that the NFL displayed with this 2025 NFL draft. I mean, Shedeur, he was throwing for over 3,000 yards. I mean, he comes from a pedigree of just straight royalty when it comes to his athleticism, when it comes to his the bloodline of Deion Sanders, who's arguably one of the greatest athletes ever. I mean, Deion Sanders smashed all type of records in baseball, all type of records in football, one of the only athletes to compete in the Super Bowl, and he also competed in the World Series, I believe. So he was, just a phenomenal athlete. This is the father of Shedeur. So you're getting legendary pedigree, legendary genes and genetics, and you guys allow him to go all the way to round 5 just so his stock can drop and you guys can pick him up for pennies on the dollar. That's what this is about. Taking money out of the Shedeur family's bank account. Taking money out of their legacy, but they're going to get it all back because we always know God has the last say. Hey, what are your thoughts on this whole thing? I think I want to hear from you guys. Do you all think it was collusion? Do you think Shedeur just wasn't that talented? Do you think it was actually a conspired effort amongst all the NFL teams to say, don't pick up Shedeur, allow his stock to drop, and then we'll pick him up? This is King Messiah. We back. Make sure you hit that subscribe button. Peace. Wait, let's read this post from President Donald J. Trump. What is wrong with the NFL owners? Are they stupid? Deion Sanders was a great college football player and was even greater in the NFL. He's also a very good coach, streetwise and smart. Therefore, Shedeur, his quarterback son, has phenomenal genes and is all set for greatness. He should be picked immediately by a team that wants to win. Good luck, Shedeur, and say hello to your wonderful family, your wonderful father. Come on, y'all. Come on. I'm out.